Gerard, SEPA has been a topic at Cybos for, going on a decade.
Yes.
As one of the chief architects of the SEPA rulebooks for credit transfers, direct debits, this has dragged on for some time now. What's your feelings about the current sort of stalemate that we seem to have reached?
Well, the banks working together under the umbrella of the European Payment Council really delivered what the public sector expected us to deliver. Rulebooks and implementation guidelines. Basically rules and technical standards from bank to bank, but also standards from bank to customers. That is done, and it's even more that nearly 5,000 banks adhere to the schemes, and about 4,000 adhere to the direct debit scheme. 5,000 SET, 4,000. Banks alone cannot achieve the objectives of the public sector on SEPA, because it's important that also the buy side is committed. And although progress has been made, if you analyze the data, about 9.3% of the old credit transfer euro have migrated to SEPA credit transfer based euro payment services, and about 1% for direct debit. It started a bit later. If the buy side is not accepting the political objective of SEPA, it will never fly. Then it will take very long for the full migration, and maybe we run the risk that the full migration may not happen. The implementation is done at national level. It is managed by the national SEPA committees or payment committees. The model is not everywhere the same, and the model used looks alike the model used in the euro countries for implementing the euro. So the buy side and the sell side sit around the table. There are very strong cases like France and Belgium. But there are also weak cases in town, that the buy side, the sell side and the public sector are not sitting around the same table. And if the public sector does not organize that properly at the national level, then you don't get an appropriate implementation plan.
Why do you think the public sector have not participated as you would like?
Yes, that's correct. There is some improvement now. For the first time ever, the SEPA Council was created, and in the SEPA Council, 5 seats are available for the supply side, 5 seats are available for the buy side, and 1 of them is for the public administration. So at the highest level, as a customer, has a seat around the table. But from an EPC perspective, we never received any requirement of the public administration what their view is on SEPA. Of course, ministers of finance sometimes have a lot of roles, but they did not give a clear view what the public administrations, 20% of the number, are expecting. Some public administrations are part of the national SEPA committees, but not in all member states. Again, that's a weak part of the governance. So my expectation is that now the SEPA Council is there, that it will stimulate an upgrade of the teams at national level, and that the public sector, not only in the role of regulator or the organizer of the market, but also as a customer, is more engaged in some member states. So there are very positive cases, like in France or Belgium or Luxembourg, it's nearly done, or Finland. But there are also cases where a lot of more work has to be done.
Do you think that the public sector needs to lead this for SEPA to be successful?
I believe, because banks do have their marketing, but in the end, banks are not ultimately responsible that the customer side should migrate. We will facilitate, and we will do that in a competitive way. That happened also during the euro. The euro led to a lot of competitive offerings of banks, but it was clear for the buy side to change. And that has to be explained by the public sector. So banks do have a role, but also the public sector has a role to play.
Obviously, there's a lot of talk about an end date. The ECB's 7th SEPA progress report, they talk about 2013 date for direct debits and 2012 for credit transfers. Do you think, given a lot of the confusion that surrounds SEPA, that that's a realistic date for full migration?
Depends on the communities. The EPC plenary was always in favor of an end date. We have a very clear view. The European Parliament already started in 2009 mentioning the end date should be 2012. The SEPA Council, buy-side, sell-side, is in favor of an end date. The banks are ready. Maybe some banks are not ready with their full infrastructure. Maybe they see it more as a small stream, 5%, 10%. But nevertheless, the banks in itself are aware, because and certain communities already migrated to their whole infrastructure to the new world. Luxembourg is the best case from my perspective. So what will happen is if you do have an end date, then more banks will take care that it is not just 5% of the flow, it is 100% of the flow. And for CEOs, if there is not a clear message, if the end date is 2012, 2013, I don't know where we end, they will not mobilize their teams for creating the right value propositions for their different types of customers, because SMEs and corporates don't have the same type of value proposition of consumers. And also the CEOs will take care that the sourcing of the production part of payments is organized in the best way from a cost perspective, from a service delivery perspective. So if the end date is on the table, then the show will start.